Thank you, Chairman Wahlberg, and thank you to all of our witnesses for being here today. Mrs. Neely, you mentioned that Parents Defending Education has identified more than 12 million children in 1,100 school districts across our country impacted by parental exclusion policies. Our colleagues on the left sometimes argue that we are scaremongering to say that parents are being cut out of their children's education. Can you explain why this is a very real problem and how parents really do get cut out?
Representative Miller, as a parent and as a grandparent, you know that we have to sign permission slips to give our children aspirin or sunscreen in school. So the idea that our schools are now offering intrusive mental health counseling, telling children that they're born in the wrong body, that mommy and daddy might not love them because of their politics or their religion, is something that is so abhorrent that this is happening with our tax dollars to our children behind closed doors. This is happening in 2025 in America. This is not a good use of taxpayer dollars. It is destroying the parent-child relationship, and it is not just LGBT students that are hearing this. Last year, or 2 years ago, Fox News discovered that 349 students or teachers were arrested for for child sex crimes, 75% of which were with teachers or with their students. These are horrifying statistics. We teach our children about stranger danger. And so to have our public officials turn around and say, you should keep secrets from mom and dad is something that is so devastating to a country, to a nation, that it is appalling that we are even having this discussion right now.
Mrs. Neely, you mentioned that China has waged an influence campaign to get themselves implanted in our K-12 schools. What do we know about how many schools China has infiltrated, and what are they teaching in these schools?
We released a report called into Confucius Classrooms, called Little Red Classrooms, and we identified 143 districts around the country in 34 states, including 20 near military bases, where Chinese teachers, Chinese materials, curriculum had come directly from CCP-linked entities. The dollar amounts that were coming to these schools were very low. It's well below the Higher Education Act $250,000 threshold. But again, receiving curriculum, receiving books, we don't actually really know what's being taught. For all of our friends discussing teaching true history, are Tiananmen, Taiwan, Tibet, Uyghur genocide, are those covered in these classes? Almost certainly not. And so I think there's real concern as to who is coming in and what our children have access to behind our backs.
And I do want to challenge the parents in our country and taxpayers to get involved and find out what is in the curriculum in the school districts that they're supporting or their children are in. Books are silent teachers. To close, I would like to commend President Trump for his strong leadership to safeguard and strengthen our nation's education system. Last month, he issued an executive order to refocus schools on academic excellence and ensure education remains free from political indoctrination. On the same day, he signed another executive order promoting school choice and empowering parents to determine the best educational paths for their children. These decisive actions affirm the President's commitment to an educational system that prioritizes students and parents over government bureaucrats and teacher unions. Thank you, and I yield back.
I thank the gentleman.